One of the very few rules about how ancient debris is meant to generate in Minecraft, the precursor to netherite, the most powerful gear and tool type, is that it should never generate on the surface, but yet here you can see it's generated right on the surface, readily available for anyone to take as soon as they want to. Anyway, hello, I'm ToycatA, welcome back to Seed Sunday. This is this week's seed. You want to type this into your seed engine and then press create world, because what you'll find when you do, because that is the nature of seeds. You type in the same seed, you get the same world, and the nature of Seed Sunday is that I show you seeds for Minecraft that are particularly interesting and worth checking out in some way. And this week's seed is super interesting, not just for how it breaks the whole system of ancient debris, for reasons we can explain in a little bit, but also for how it breaks many other things in this world, because, I mean, the spawn point is kind of interesting. You spawn on a tree next to a desert, next to a plains biome, nice little division between two biomes, but also you can see how if we just go a little bit to the southwest of spawn, you see this place right here, another thing where the game kind of breaks in one of its pieces of logic, because the game can naturally spawn sand floating above nothing, and this means that if you punch just a single part of the sand, you know what's going to happen. It all starts to fall down because of the chain reaction of it all suddenly becoming gravity affected. So I love that that is available right next to the spawn. That is the spawn tree. This is a spawn ravine, but even better is the fact that once you do punch that, it reveals that there is a mine shaft hidden in this ravine, and I made a promise to not talk too much about mine shafts when they intersect with a ravine. Yeah, it happens sometimes. It's really cool and it does, but yeah, isn't that great? But this is not just a mine shaft crossing a ravine, it's a mine shaft which opens an entrance between two separate ravines. As you can see, this mine shaft goes from here, up through here, and then into a second ravine. So this second ravine is very exciting because, I mean, it's a second ravine, it goes even deeper down, always a cool thing to find if you like looking for ores, but also you can see how the abandoned mine shaft crosses over this in some very interesting ways, repeatedly, extensively, and over again, in a way that makes it very easy to explore the whole thing. Again, this is a thing that is not 100% unique to the seed. Every now and then, Bedrock does have seeds that entirely mess around with what you expect from a mine shaft, but to be able to explore a mine shaft so easily is something that if you haven't done before, I would entirely recommend you do right now. And this is just one of the small things to mention. I mean, sure, this is nice. Free gold ore. Sure, this is nice. Combination of two ravines with even a chest which can contain many rare things like name tags and even diamonds in between them, depending on how your luck goes. But also, if we go out of this ravine and out of this cool thing, you'll find how it's not the only thing worth pointing out, because this seed would be great even if it wasn't for that ravine, even if it wasn't for the ancient debris. I would still say this is a really nice spawn point because it has the perfect combination of plains, desert, and savanna. Who doesn't love having three separate great biomes? But also because of the fact that if you follow this river upstream, I actually recommend cutting across to a different point in it, then you'll find something very interesting. And by that, I don't just mean a plains biome with perfectly flat ground. I mean, seriously, look at this thing. Besides some sugarcane, which is also nice by itself, but besides some sugarcane poking out and like, oh, a whole 11 block shift to flatten, this is, like a 50 by 50 area, which is almost entirely the same thing, and then also it can be extended very easily. I mean, there's literally a cave here. It's one less deep than this. Basically, you've got a really nice flat ground to build on, and then even weirder than that is the fact that this river right here kind of builds in, like this river leads you into a desert temple. We've seen desert temples take up entire rivers before, but I've never seen this before, where the river is clearly leading into a savanna biome. If not a savanna biome, then it's in a plains biome, but despite being in mostly a savanna biome and a river biome, it still counts as a desert temple because of the fact that, as you can see, the desert temple is technically partly in a desert, which means it was able to generate despite generating a desert temple into grass, which is not what you normally see. So it's a super weird desert temple. Who doesn't love the examples of that? And if you don't love it even more, then you know what, you're going to love the fact that when you go in here, you get 4 chests, read 'em and reap, read 'em and weep. You get weed 'em and reap. Wait, yeah, weed the chests out, there's lots of weeds in here. And then you can reap the rewards of the saddle and the gold and emeralds. It's so great, the things you can get here. And I totally did not mess up my words when I said read 'em and weep wrong, which doesn't even make sense because we're not playing a game of poker. But that's fine, And the way that metaphors work is that they deliberately aren't real things. But you know what is a real thing? Unlike the integrity of any YouTuber who covers seeds and does the thing where they're like, hey, all you have to do is head a few thousand blocks away from spawn to get something exciting, like look how cool this cave is. You'll never find this anywhere else. But you know what is a very much real thing? It's this spawn point right here. I mean, I showed you what happens when you go to the south. I showed you what happens when you go to the north. What I haven't shown you is the fact that this seed gives you a really great, pick of 3 separate biomes effectively, plus the lava at spawn, but we can even ignore that. And you can see how it's this perfect confluence of 3 separate biomes, 3 separate huge biomes. And huge biomes have their downsides. I definitely think that there's some serious issues if you want to make long-term multi-biome stuff. But if you do like being in the same biome, look at the 3 choices. Huge plains, huge savanna, or huge desert. They all start exactly where the spawn is. And if we take a look at just the huge desert, for instance, look how staggering this terrain is. Look at the, giant, bizarrely shaped, but huge ravine right here. Look at these deserty mountains, which, not a normal spawn point, or like not a normal thing to build around. You don't see very often. Look at the fact that there's 2 desert villages around here, something you might really like. The fact that these biomes are so huge that the nearest village that isn't a desert village, by heading this way, is a solid 750 blocks away from spawn, and that's the closest point, and it's not even a real village, it's a zombie village. The fact that you have to go that far is something you might really like if you like a kind of mono biome thing. And if you do like the single biome thing, these are the best 3 biomes to have as your single biome choices. If there's 3 of you, having, being able to split this for a survival world might be real fun. The amount of usefulness it will give you based on the number of surface lava pits, based on your easy access to pretty much anything you want, based on your flat grounds to build on. I mean, even this desert, which is the most, bizarre terrain, you can see how there's still pretty decent flat grounds in here. Like, oh yeah, look at this. Even though it's a super mountainous desert, there's still a big flat area because these biomes are just that great at doing flat terrain. But you know what's even better? If we head all the way back to spawn, just in case you're not sure which way you want to go, you want to just base yourself in spawn at first, like we all kind of want to do. But what makes this sea great, in my opinion, is in part the Nether, because even if you don't pick one of those directions to go, if you just start a Nether right here, and honestly, even if you do head like a few hundred blocks in each direction, it won't make a difference to how your Nether goes, because you're going to spawn roughly somewhere like this. In my opinion, a really interesting spawn point because of the how, look at this, like the Blackstone deltas, or the basalt deltas rather. I never get the name right, it's okay. But it technically expands the tiniest bit over here, which means you have like a few floating blackstone blocks there. You have some basalt blocks way up here in the ceiling where they shouldn't be on Bedrock, because reasons at the very least. You can see how it's a very bizarre basalt deltas because it kind of expands in a way that doesn't match the landscape, leading to this, which looks like you did something cool, but this is just how the biomes naturally are. But yeah, if we just head in this direction, 100 blocks, which is a pretty short distance in Nether times. But yeah, by just following in this direction, as you can see, it's a pretty simple one to follow because you don't really have the choice of going in the other direction. But just head in this direction. Admittedly, you have to do a little bit of a leap down, or you have to mine through some netherrack, so it might be tricky the first time you do it. But in the long run, it's really great because you have easy access to a crimson forest. Really great having access to one of the forests, right? Well, if you wanted to have access to the other one, it would only be an extra 100 blocks in this direction. I really love the kind of confluence of the two too, because they don't meet perfectly, but instead what you have is you have this lava lake. I mean, it's a lot of gravel, so I would be very hesitant of trusting it for that particular reason right there. See, again, it happens. Second time today. I mean, but the third one's coming in a second. So super interesting stuff when you see, Nether generation like this that really is designed not to happen. They explicitly make it so it doesn't, but yet here it is. It's a lava lake that has lava draining from the ceiling. Super beautiful. But even better than that is the fact that if you want some netherite gear, I mean, that's part of why you come to the Nether now, which is interesting to say, but it is kind of true. All you've got to do is head over here, directly across from the lava beam, and you find some more of this warp forest. Sure, great way to get Enderman, I agree. But then if we just head kind of upwards from there, we'll see how for some reason, outside of the warp forest, there is still some of these big generating twisting vines. And these twisting vines are, again, the assumption it can be made, these are the reason why you'll find some netherite in the ground right here, or some ancient debris if we're being technically accurate, because the twisting vines, as you can see, count as a full block. If you look at their hitbox right there, we'll zoom in on it because it's kind of thin, you can see how it counts as a full block as far as the game is considered, which means one of the most fundamental rules for ancient debris is that it will never generate on the surface, or it will never try to at least, but yet here you can see there is ancient debris on the surface because it's not actually on the surface. You're not meant to be able to see it. You're meant to have to break a block like we would have to do over there. Indeed, you do actually have to break this block or break one of the ones around it. But the reason you don't have to is because of the fact that it's mostly transparent, as you can see right here. The twisting vine is, when you place it down, it doesn't cover the entirety of the block below it, which means that this isn't actually a surfaced ancient debris. The algorithm, which is intended to make sure that ancient debris is never placed on the surface, is working entirely correctly here. It's just that we can see right through it. Now we can get easy access to our first piece of ancient debris. So the interesting thing about this particular bug is it's not actually the only time this has been found, and, you know, even though this seed is one of the more notable, easy examples of it, I mean, it's a great nether, so even if you don't want to use it, I would recommend this seed for the nether anyway, and using this as a bonus. But this isn't the first time it's happened. Even to me, personally, when I was doing my nether-only items challenge, I ran across some ancient debris you know, that was in the overworld. Obviously, I couldn't use it. It was really interesting because I couldn't mine the ancient debris using nether-only items without finding a bunch of diamonds. I couldn't mine the ancient debris, and I got a lot of comments about it. But still, the fact that it can just spawn in the open, super easy to find, is really interesting. But the more prevalent epidemic, the more interesting thing is the fact that you can find it just one block below the surface. So the cool thing is, if you're mining, say, you're terraforming the nether. I mean, I often talk about terraforming the overworld and how easy it is in certain biomes. I mean, I gave you a whole rant about those things. But if you're just mining around like this, because every time you break a surface block, you could technically be finding ancient debris underneath, which is why when you're mining around just like this, you're statistically likely, it's not the best way, but if you are doing it anyway, you actually have a fair chance, you know, like not an awful chance of finding ancient debris, because ancient debris generates twice per chunk, once super low down in the chunks where you're meant to find it, and then once anywhere else in your world. It could be in the ceiling up there, it could be down below the ground over here. You don't know until you go. Actually, you know what? I need to prove that point to you rather than just saying it. I mean, like, hopefully you trust me, but just in case you don't, if we replace all of this with glass, you can see how instantly there was some ancient debris, as well as a bunch of ores, but there was some ancient debris hiding in there the whole time. Wow, that's super cool, right? If we look at this area, even around this thing right here, like, so this is the only ancient debris we'll find in this chunk, this high up. But if we do the exact same thing, but we do like, I don't know, negative 20 instead, so we look down below us, we might just find there's some ancient debris around here too. Oh, we actually didn't. Well, you know, my whole point's invalid. This is clearly all a lie that I made up so I could sell you Christmas ToycatA shirts, which you can buy, by the way, at shirts.ibx. Oh, no, you can buy them at streamlabs.com/ToycatA. You want yourself a Christmas shirt because it's October soon? You bet you do. Christmas shirts. Only available in non-Christmas months, by the way. See? Yeah, look at that. I'm using this knowledge is fake. I'm just using it to sell you bad merch. I mean, who wants Christmas merch in October? Not me for sure. That's why I haven't bought mine already. Anyway, my main point here was just trying to be like, hey, did you know that you can find ancient debris anywhere in your world? If we look up, we might find some more there. Did I really get that lucky finding it on my first go? Should have just left with it. Should have pretended I'm just that good at finding ancient debris. But yeah, the point is it is very easily findable anywhere in your nether. By mining netherrack anywhere, you might be helping to find some ancient debris, and I think that's cool. Maybe you disagree, but also, you know, really cool idea would be replacing an entire section of your nether with glass. You know, I wish I hadn't done that, because now I think that's the coolest idea that I totally want to do. Look how cool and futuristic this whole thing looks. Tell me right now, 100% honestly, you don't want to see a nether looking kind of like this. Isn't this beautiful? I might have to do that now. Do you know how long it's going to take me to destroy the deserts? Do you know what? This is the worst. This is what you've done to me, YouTube. You know, this in the shirt that I bought at streamlabs.com/ToycatA. Look how good I am at plugging my merch. I've made 100,000 sales already. Definitely haven't made literally one, and that was me buying it for the purposes of that joke. Anyway, with that said, I do need to point out, just for a little bit of extra fun, there is also, just on top of that, a soul sand valley right over here, which means this nether is even better than you might assume, because at spawn, you're between a basalt deltas and a netherrack waste, the nether waste. It's not a pretty biome. Let's be honest, neither of those are. They're arguably the two ugliest. But then you're like, oh, it could be worse. I could be in a soul sand valley. But then literally, also, you know what's even cooler? Having a bastion over here. I totally knew about that before recording this video. Jesus, that is cool. This is one of the best nethers ever. Because you not only have these three biomes that you spawn, you know, let's be honest, the three worst of the nether ones. Let's be honest, the nether is just not a particularly pleasant place. But then you only have to head another 100 blocks in this direction, and you find a warp forest, and then across a beautiful nether waste, or at least a very interesting nether waste. If you don't like it, you find the Crimson Forest. Having all 5 biomes close to your spawn is something you will appreciate, even if you don't think about it right now. Because, again, I have to travel like 1,400 blocks to get to my nearest warp forest. And I need warp wood a lot. I need the, what is it even called? Warp Nilium so much. And then I have to go there. It's like a big waste on Elytra. And you know what would be easier? Having it be 100 blocks away from spawn, having some free ancient debris on the surface, and more importantly than any of that, look, it's a salt sand valley that has the basalt deltas lava like kind of spilling into it. So have you ever seen a biome that looks like this? Because if you have, then you're probably lying. Something is a bit off about this Nether, and that's kind of beautiful. And that's also not the only even reason to check it out, because it's a beautiful Nether. And you know what else is beautiful? You, dear viewer. Oh, I forgot one of the coolest bits about this, by the way. Oh, okay. So if you recall, this is ancient debris. It's visible on the surface. It's cool. It's my whole title for this video because everyone needs a hook to watch things on the internet because there's just so much to watch these days. I know how it is, don't worry. But if you place a portal just behind there, I think pretty much anywhere around here will do. But if you just place a portal nearby that, the interesting thing that will happen, this kind of blew my mind, this happened almost by freak chance. Look at this weird freak accident in a already weird freak Nether. But go through a Nether portal, where will you spawn? Right here in a zombie spawner. This is one of the only zombie spawners where the easiest way to get to it from spawn is to go to the nearest ancient debris, then place a Nether portal, but that is how you find it. That is how you'll find 2 copies of Cat. You know, that's me and that's a friend right there. And that's just an incredible little find. Also, there's a cave around here in case you're interested. Because in the same way that Netherite always tries to generate away from the surface, the zombie spawners always try to generate touching a cave, if I'm not mistaken. It, like, tries to generate touching stone. So that's why you find them the way you do. That's a Bedrock exclusive, I think. I think on Java, they just generate anywhere and they're harder to find. But on Bedrock, if you just look through caves long enough, you'll find some monster spawners, which I think is a cool little addition, personally. Or maybe you disagree. I'd love to hear if that is what you think, because I hope you've enjoyed today's Seed Sunday. If you liked it, like the video and let me know. Share if you really liked it, and you know what? Subscribe if you're new around here, because I make videos like this one every single day on my channel, and I don't even plug my Christmas merch in most of them. I only did it today, because I needed to be evil. And you know what? The most evil people are those people who think that Christmas merch should only be for Christmas. My Christmas merch is explicitly not sold during the Christmas period. Any time that could be referred to as the Christmas period is when my shirt goes off sale. And it'll only go on resale in like February, so make sure to get it while it lasts. This is the worst merch promotion opportunity. But I hope you've all enjoyed it, because I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.